Network. Now we are playing with power. NFL Network's Dan Hanzus will join us in a minute. So let's run through his Week 12 power rankings now on NFL.com. We're talking Kira Sedgwick earlier in the Shredded Nuts segment, who's on a very heavily promoted show called The Closer. So let's do this with a theme of the most heavily promoted primetime shows of all time. Let's go to the power rankings, as I call it. The Rizzoli and Isles division is in first. Angie Harmon, number 32, Cincinnati Bengals, still winless, on the clock for a quarterback, maybe one from LSU. Detroit Lions down at 25. But moving on to the Joey division. Lot of promos. Trey DiMatteo. A lot of. We love Drea. Denver Broncos at number 24. Carolina Panthers 17. And a bunch just sort of in the hunts, not really-ish in the middle. Cleveland Browns at 21. Next, the Frank TV division. Frank TV, we love you, Caliendo. There's a lot of ads for Frank TV. Kansas City Chiefs and Houston Texans rounding out the top 10, with the Steelers coming off that wild one last Thursday night, even a loss at 16. But lastly, you know it, you love it, the elite of the elite, it's the Franklin and Bash division. Shout out to Meyer and Gosseler. Big love to Joe Buck TV, too, Joe Buck Live. San Francisco 49ers, number 1. Ravens, Patriots, Seahawks, and Saints in at number 5, with the Packers, are getting a lot of this, just outside the top 5. So let's bring in the man behind the power. Those are not ours or not mine. They belong to this man. His name is Dan Hanzus. Good morning from Los Angeles, Dan.
Good morning. I love when we pump any Gosseler vehicle that's not Saved by the Bell. But where's the OC? Welcome to the OC, blank. That was all time.
California, yes. The song was just everywhere. Never fall in love in the OC, or maybe that's the Jersey Shore. Dan, let's start with the top 2 seeds. They remain unchanged from last week. 49ers at 1, Ravens at 2. And yet the Baltimore Ravens beat the Texans, and I'm quoting your column, they beat them, quote, into a catatonic shock. That kind of winning as a top 10 team doesn't vault the Ravens into the number 1 seed. Que paso?
It's fair. And, yeah, the Texans better wake up because they're playing tomorrow. But I think there's a weird thing going on with the power rankings for me where in the top 10, it's really to me a top 9. And then once you hit 10, the 10 to like 17 range, they're teams that I'm not really taking all that seriously as title contenders right now. And the Texans are the first team in that group at number 10. So although it was a very nice win at home, and the Ravens obviously are playing kind of at the height of their powers, it feels like right now, it wasn't a typical beatdown of a top 10 team in my mind that would move you to number 1. And I know the Niners didn't get a lot of love for what they did on Sunday, but you know what? With all those skill players missing, with the deficit they faced, how they clawed back, playing a division foe twice in 3 weeks is not easy. It's hard, a 16-game season, so they're not all going to be beautiful. I thought Jimmy G and the Niners actually showed me something winning that close game.
Yeah, I think people would naturally think George Clooney or Brad Pitt. I think Breckin Meyer when I think the New England Patriots. Has just been a part of our lives for 20 years.
Talk about it.
Hits home runs every single time. Always good. So the Patriots got a less than convincing win over the Eagles, but they stay at that number 3 spot in your rankings. Tom Brady averaged only 5 yards per pass attempt, and the only pass touchdown came from Julian Edelman. So what do you got, Hanzus? Still number 3?
Well, Peter, you've been in this game for a while now, and you know the Patriots rope-a-dope right around this time every year. Tom Brady, whether it's Bill Belichick, maybe a Julian Edelman, they start talking to the media about how, I don't know if, we have it this year. We got so much to work on. Brady, beautiful press conference performance on Sunday, acting like he was at a funeral after a game they won. Only on the Patriot way could that happen. And then on a radio appearance on Monday saying, well, this team is all about defense and special teams anyway. It's like, all right, I don't buy what you're doing here. I know what you're doing. I've been watching football for a long time, too. So I just imagine that the Patriots are going to get better on offense. They're not going to be an elite offense this year. That might be over in the Tom Brady era that they're an elite offense, but they will get better, and their defense and special teams is very good. So I'm okay with where the Patriots are right now, even if they're not blowing the doors off people from their attack standpoint.
Sounds like a little born and raised Jets fan, scar tissue we're dealing with there. Some AFC East, years and years of the same thing happening.
It's an open wound, Kay. It's not scar tissue.
I know it is. But I want to talk about the Saints here. They had a big one. They had a big win, a division win over the Buccaneers. They didn't have Marshawn Lattimore, and they moved up 1 spot to number 5. You wrote, quote, life is back to normal for New Orleans. Why does a normal life for the Saints mean a higher ranking in your mind?
I think, Kay, and I know the Saints, it's a sensitive topic whenever we do this conversation. I guess I ding them a little bit still. That home loss against the Falcons was really, it was on my radar, and it brought up some questions about where this team, whether that was a speed bump or something where maybe they're not as invincible as they thought. But I still think that where they are now, it's no crime to be 6. They could easily move up over the next couple of weeks. They can get all the way to the top. I think it's so closely packed together, the top 6 right now, and I had them move up 1 spot this week. I like the Saints a lot. I think they're an NFC power that has a chance to come out of the NFC on top. So at 5, I think they're okay there. It's pretty stacked in the top of this power rankings.
Danny boy, let's keep it in the NFC. Just past the Saints at 5, you've got a little bit of a log jam there at 6, 7, and 8 between the Packers, the Vikings, and the Cowboys. Vikings are on a bye week, but is there any chance that those 3 teams sneak into the top 5 in the next week or two?
Oh, the Packers have a clear path for this, because when you look at what they've done so far, they already have kind of like impact wins over the Vikings, the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Chiefs. Now, if they go to San Francisco, or the Big Bell Bottom, as a certain personality calls it, and beat the Niners, you can make a case to move them all the way up to number 1. There's been a lot of teams this season where people point at their schedule and say, yeah, but who have they beaten? Well, the Packers all season have shown that they can go up against top opponents and win the game. So I wouldn't be shocked if they beat San Francisco, and they would be my pick of those 3 teams to move up and all the way up in the power rankings in the coming weeks.
Dealing heaters as usual. You can follow him on Twitter at Mark Paul Hanzus. That is his handle on Twitter. Dan, thank you so much for joining us. We love you, man.
MPH.
Love you too.
Thanks, Dan. Who teases who about their eyes?
Dan. They love to tease Dan about his eyes out in L.A.
I just thought you guys
Is
have
that
these
true?
big blue eyes.
Yeah.
Mm.
They say
Sounds
that
creepy.
They say we might be related.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
maybe you are.
I feel bad for Dan if people are relating me to him.